Hello everyone, I am Imran Ali, Assistant Professor, Department of MBA, Noida Institute of Engineering and Technology. This is lecture 16, Unit 3, where I will be discussing about production planning. What I will be covering in this lecture, it is about the production planning, what are the different objective of production planning, and what are the different type in which or through which the organizations are doing production planning. Production planning, it is what? It is in future course of time or in future how many products are to be manufactured by the organization, or the company has to understand that how many product a company has to manufacture, keeping in mind that what is the scenario of the demand in future course of time. So, the attempt of the organizations are that company it is in the position to meet the demand over a period of time. So, we have seen whatever production planning a company had to do, it need to keep in mind what is the possibility or what is the scenario of demand in future in the coming 5 year or in the coming year. The scenario for the production, maybe it is positive because company realize that there is a positivity among consumer, or consumers are likely to consume their product extensively. So, company will plan to produce more, company may plan to do to establish lot of new plant, company may decides to increase or increase number of plant, so that increased demand can be met by the company. So, whatever it is the scenario, either it is positive, I mean to say the company has to increase their production because the demand is high, or company is supposed to reduce the production because the scenario of the demand for the company it is negative. So, both scenario may come, it is favorable for the company when demand it is increasing. So, company will invest more, company will try to increase their capacity, so that increased demand can be captured and can be met out by the organization. On the other hand, scenario might be negative, company may realize or company may feel that demand for their product is not going to be positive. So, company will not infuse more fund into the capacity, or they will decide that in future course of time they are not going to invest more into the production. We have seen that all automobile companies gradually are going to increase their expenditure toward EVs, electrical vehicles. So, since the demand is expected to rise, there is a positivity or positive perception among the consumer to purchase the electrical vehicles. So, companies are planning to purchase or companies are planning to produce more, either it is Maruti Suzuki or it is Hyundai or it is Mahindra and Mahindra or it is Ashok Leyland. Companies that are operating into automotive industries, either 4-wheeler or 2-wheeler, all of them are planning that they have to increase their capacity to produce the electrical vehicle, because companies are realizing demand will increase in future course of time. We have seen the Tesla has established a unit in Bangalore, and they are very optimistic that the demand for electrical vehicle in India or in all emerging economies is likely to increase. So, this entire geography, so called Asia, it is giving lot of demand opportunities for the company, and the companies planning to establish over here. We have seen recently the Apple has established its manufacturing plant in India. Wistron has came, Foxconn has established their manufacturing plant, because Apple is also realizing that India is a huge market, and by being into India we can we would be able to produce our product at low cost, and we will be able to capture the larger number of the consumer being in India. So, this since Apple it is very optimistic that the demand is likely to be high, they are also planning that how we need to have a partnership certain other companies, we need to increase our capacity to produce the product so that the increased demand can be met out by the company. So, production planning, it is what? It is the scenario that company is visualizing in future course of time. It could be into positive or negative, and whether the company it is ready to meet that particular scenario or to meet that demand situation. It is nothing but to fix the goal of production. So, company has to fix the goal of the production, whether the production had to increase or whether the production has to be decrease. Increase when the demand is positive or demand is likely to increase, the production is going to be decreased if company feel that the demand scenario for our product or the company it is not very positive. Given an estimation of the resources which will be required to achieve this particular production goal. A detailed plan is chalked out to accomplish the production goal and cost efficient way as well as given time. So, once company has identified, as I discuss about the Tesla, or it is Mahindra and Mahindra, or it is Maruti Suzuki, that these companies are planning to have their manufacturing of electrical vehicle. So, once they have decided to manufacture the electrical vehicle, they need to decide how many number of unit they will produce, whether the company is having the required resources to produce these number of vehicle, whether the company it is having the required manpower or the existing manpower is having the required skill to produce these number of the unit. So, production planning, it is a detailed description of what company it is going to produce, a detailed description of resources required to produce that particular production or number of unit that we are going to see. We have seen in this budget presented in first February into the parliament by Nirmala Sitharaman that there was a huge focus on infrastructure. Infrastructure was a major area where government of India has focused. Now, if the government is trying to focus on infrastructure, to push the infrastructure, there are several industries or their business for the several companies is likely to increase. If infrastructure is going to increase, demand for the steel is going to be high. If the infrastructure is going to be focused, then the demand for the cement it is going to be increased. If the infrastructure is going to be focus paint, and there are the other industries also or companies who are going to be largely benefited. What I am trying to say, if government is focusing that infrastructure of India had to be improved and it need to be so developed that the operating cost or the manufacturing cost into India it need to be reduced. So, if infrastructure investment will be high or government is trying to focus on infrastructure more in the year to come, then the demand for the steel will increase. Now, those companies who are into steel industry, either it is Tata Steel, Steel Authority of India, Jindal Steel, JSPL, it is ArcelorMittal or it is Essar Steel, all these companies has to plan and they need to do the production planning that how they are going to add the production capacity. Now, these all steel companies has to do a production planning that how they can add their capacity so that increased demand can be met out. And once they have to increase the production of the steel, they need to find out do the companies have the required resources, do the companies having the required manpower so that this expected demand can be met out by additional production. So, all these companies need to have a production planning detailing about how many additional unit are going to be produced, how much additional resources are being required, how much additional fund will be required to produce additional. So, this planning need to be done by the company. Similarly, I talk about the cement company, it is Ultratech Cement, Ambuja, ACC, all other companies, they had to add the capacity because infrastructure is going to be focused, or infrastructure will be a point of focus by the government of India. So, all companies need to plan considering that the demand is likely to increase over a period of time. Similarly, it is about paint companies. All paint companies has to say, if infrastructure, real estate is going to be focused, infrastructure is going to be, construction is going to be into focus, demand for the paint is going to be increased. So, Asian Paint, Berger Paint, the Kansai Nerolac, all other companies has to analyze and have a production planning, that does the company is having the sufficient number of the unit at present, or they need to produce additional. So, production planning, it is what we have to plan, and a detailed description need to be made how much we are going to produce into future, and to produce that unit into future, do the companies having required number of manpower, required resources, required infrastructure, or number of the plant, so that the increased demand can be met out. These are the objective of the production planning. The first objective, it is about effective resource utilization. Effective resource utilization, it is what? Avoiding wastage of available resources and optimum use of resources. So, effective utilization here mean what? That the wastage should be minimum. The wastage have to be very minimum. So, the company has to plan in such a way, or they need to adopt some method or a innovative method of the production, whereby production or the wastage can be minimized, or the prediction. So, a well planned or a systematic planning can help the company to reduce the wastage, and ultimately it will help the company to increase reduce the overall cost of production. Next, it is about constant production flow. Every organization want that their production process should be continuous, because once you discontinues your production and you want to restart again, it need additional cost or it take time. So, better it is that the production process that the organization is having must continuous, or it must move on continuously. Next, it is about the estimation of the resources. This estimate will be used in sales forecasting, as there is a proper sync between production and sales. So, we need to estimate about demand, we need to estimate about manpower, do the manpower we are having, or the company is having the resources or the raw material to keep our production continue. So, into the, for example, any power company, Tata Power, Adani Power, or any company which is producing the power based on coal. So, they need to if the production is going to be increased, they need to check whether they are having sufficient coal, so that their the power generation should be continuous. Or any steel company, if it is continuously producing more steel, they have to check out, do they have the ore, iron ore, that is the raw material being used over there. So, every organization into the production planning had to check and estimate whether the company is having the required resources to keep their production continue. Next, it is about inventory management. A planned production will ensure optimum inventory and always avoid. So, every organization want that inventory need not be in excess, or there should not be over inventory into the organization, because it is going to increase cost in the company. So, we as an organization had to maintain the inventory to such a level which is more affordable and good for the organization. Wastage need to be reduced, wastage need to be minimum. It is about the productivity improvisation. Organization had to adopt the method, or they need to find out their work method, so that productivity can increase it is the objective of every organization that over a period of time their productivity must consistently keep on increasing or improving. So, these are the certain objective, because of that production planning came into existence. Next, it is about there are different types of the production planning. First, advance, schedule and plan. Scheduling is what? A set of task or activity happen on certain time or sequentially as per some time or chronologically some activities are likely to happen. So, whenever scheduling came, the term scheduling came into existence, we have to understand scheduling, it is related with the timeline, a set of task or related task which had to happen at certain point in time. So, scheduling is used to plan use of factory equipment and resources, manpower to plan processes and material purchasing. Scheduling is necessary to create a production plan. So, scheduling had to schedule about or have an estimation about the equipment that will be required to produce the number of the product. Scheduling will also require number of manpower, are they available, when they are available, and with this existing manpower how many number of unit can be produced within a given period of time. So, this scheduling is related to this estimation about whether equipments are available, whether resources are available, whether the manpower is available or not. Next, it is about capacity planning to meet changing demand. Capacity planning, it is the planning of producing certain number of goods. Capacity is what? It is the at most capacity that a company can produce with. For example, a company can produce 100 units maximum in a month, it is the capacity of that particular company. So, production manufacturing organization, the maximum capacity that they can produce, it is known as the capacity planning. Now, capacity planning, why it is needed? It is needed because demand do not remain same or the scenario for the demand keep on changing. Let us see, it is the it is SII, Serum Institute of India, or it is Bharat Biotech from Hyderabad. Both these organizations are trying to increase their capacity of manufacturing vaccine because the demand is high not only in India, but even from foreign countries. So, since demand for their particular product is very high, they are supposed to come up with new plant or they need to increase their capacity because the demand is high. So, the organizations are encouraged to add capacity or manufacturing capacity once we realize or once we feel that demand for our products going to be high in future course of time. So, it could be a steel company which I already had discussed that the demand is continuously increasing, demand for the iron ore it is continuously increasing, demand for warehousing is also increasing, warehousing. And why the demand for the warehousing increasing? Because of growth of e-commerce industry and because of the growth in manufacturing. So, whenever there will be growth into the e-commerce and manufacturing, demand for the warehouses will increase. So, we will say more warehouses or investment into the warehousing will take place into future. Next, it is about master schedule. Master production schedule is linked to indicate how much of each product is to be produced following the forecasting. So, master production schedule is what? A company does not manufacture only one product, it manufacture number of the product. So, company has to plan considering that how many number of each product had to be produced. For example, a company for example, Mahindra and Mahindra, it is manufacturing Bolero, it is SUV 500, it is Thar, it is also came into existence. So, these are the three brands. Now the company has to plan, the company has to think of that how many number of units of the Bolero had to be manufactured, how many number of SUV 500 to be manufactured, how many number of units of the Thar had to be manufactured. So master production scheduling will tell us that how many number of the unit of each product need to be manufactured. For example, total unit are to be, for example, it is hypothetical situation, 100 unit are to be total units are to be produced 100. Now 100 need to be divided into each 30, 20 and 50, so that the total need to come 100. So master production schedule involve production of individual product, how much individual product are to be manufactured. Next, is it about manufacturing resources planning. It is operational planning in unit as well as financial planning. So the organization need to do financial planning, they need to do the operational planning also. Operation planning, I mean to say, it is OPEX, operating expenses. So company had to plan, do they have the enough fund, do they have the enough resources so that their operation should be continue. The Serum Institute of India and Bharat Biotech had approached to the government of India, please provide few thousands of crore or some fund for us so that we can ensure our operation is continuously it is moving, and they can add their capacity or they easily can meet their increased demand. So the operational expenses need to be made. So we need to plan the fund, the resources, so that our production should be continue. Scheduling, it is allocate machinery and manufacturing plant resources and human resources as per the. So scheduling will take place to allocate machinery, manpower, equipment and other resources as per some time, so that our production should remain continuous. Scheduling, it is concerned with the timeline and set of activity had to happen in certain time dimension or with respect to certain timing. Next, it is about the workflow in production planning. A stepwise flow is formed from raw material, active packaging and every presented. So we need to have into the production planning, our production had to be into a systematic way. First we need to think of assembling our raw material, then converting it into, then packaging will take place, then it will go to the distributed to the retailer, then it will ultimately go to the consumer. So there has to be a flow and it need to be well planned. Next, these are the key performance indicator in the production planning. So the what it is the production cost include raw material, electricity, fuel and worker. So into the production planning we had to take in consideration how much it is the total cost of production, and does the cost of production is likely to increase or decrease. So once we are planning or having plan for production, we should also keep in mind that whether the cost is likely to increase or decrease. As I discussed with you that into steel, the prices of the iron ore are continuously increasing, not only in India, even across the world. So once the prices of the iron ore are continuously increasing, the companies are bound to increase the steel prices. If the steel prices are going to be increased, automobile companies, their cost of production will increase, so they are bound to increase their prices. Still where it is going to be used into other manufacturing or infrastructure, their cost of production is going to be increased. So while we are doing production planning, we need to say the cost of production and what are the factor or reason because of that cost of manufacturing is likely to increase. Next, it is about the capacity utilization rate. If many machinery and workers are sitting idle, your capacity is low. So capacity it is could be high, it could be low, And capacity utilization is what? It is the maximum unit that a company can produce, but every company want that their production should be fully utilized. Projected versus actual hours, it gives you a picture of how much time it was supposed to take and how much it did. Employees utilization, I mean to say projected time how much it was there and how actual time it is being taken. So, there should not be much difference about, and there should be proper utilization of the manpower or employees also to take into account. Next, it is about the production planning process. What are the different steps that a company can take while they are doing a production planning? I already discussed production planning, it is related to future, whether the demand for the company's product is expected to increase or decrease. But how company will came to know whether the demand is likely to increase or the demand it is likely to decrease? It is because it will came to know to estimate the product demand. We as a company have to estimate product demand, whether the demand for the product is likely to increase or decrease. And the major contribution here can be made by production demand forecasting. Through demand forecasting, we can come to know whether the demand for our product is likely to increase or decrease. Next, it is way production option. Company has to find out the option whether they will be manufacturing by themselves or they need to do get it manufactured by third party or any contract manufacturer. Next, it is select the most efficient option. Company had to pick up one option out of various alternative, and the option had to be pick up which is more suitable, which more suit to the need of the organization. Next, it is monitoring and evaluation had to came. Why monitoring it is being required? Monitoring is required to check out whether the company's activity or the production plan of the company is as per the production planning or there are some deviation, there are some variation. So, to check out that variation and to took certain corrective action, organization keep on taking certain measures under monitoring and evaluation. So, under the production unit there should be a continuous monitoring and evaluation of the production process and how a corrective course of action can be taken by organization. Next, it is about the adjustment plan. If some variation is there, some deviation is there from the production planning, then companies had to take certain action or some adjustment had to happen so that organization can take place or corrective action can be made by the organization. So, this was all about the production planning, how production planning need to came into existence, why it is needed, and through the demand forecasting organization can come to know that how many additional number of unit are to be manufactured in future course of time. Thank you so much.